What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Double F Outdoors. Guys, we're just going to do something we did at the beginning of the year and we kind of forgot to keep doing for all the tournaments, but just kind of a quick recap of the regional. We had a really good first day and kind of a good start to the second day that kind of died out. So I'm just going to kind of talk about what we were doing. We were fishing lacrosse, we were fishing the Mississippi River out of lacrosse. FLW has had even pro series events up there. That's where they're having the championship next year, so it's a great fishery. I knew that coming in, big smallmouth, lots of fish. So day one, got paired with a really good guy. We were doing something I love to do, which was docks. We were dock fishing. I absolutely love fishing docks. I wish I would have had it on camera just how many fish I caught. And I knew going into this tournament this was going to be a finesse tournament, which is kind of starting to become right up my alley. I've really fallen in love with finesse fishing the last year and a half. It was just right up my alley with a lot of the things I like to do. So I had a lot of finesse-y stuff tied on. I had spinner baits tied on, jerk baits, some crank baits, you know, kind of colder weather stuff. I knew the water temperatures would really be dropping. And the guy, the boater I had, he was fishing with a spinner bait and was really focusing along the sides of these docks. And so I just decided really early right away that I was going to pick apart the front and like the corners. You know, I'd make an occasional cast down the side, but I really wanted to target those fish that might be kind of roaming out in front of these docks. And I started throwing, and I threw a lot both days, and it's this guy right here. It's the Strike King KVD. I think it's the 100. It's the shallow running jerk bait. I didn't have I didn't catch any fish. I had a few bites, but I used this early in that day to fish the front of those docks, just kind of out. I throw it right up to the dock and kind of get it out, trying to trigger those fish, pull them away from the cover. Really didn't work, and so you guys have been watching my videos. You know that I have really been in love with the Ned rig the last several months of the season. And so I started throwing the Ned rig, and I caught a fish pretty quick after picking up my bigger Ned rig setup. And real quick after that, I switched to my finesse, my real finesse, the finesse Ned rig, and I caught fish galore. I ended up with 4 keepers for about 8 pounds 9 ounces. Had a keeper get off. Like I said, caught 20-something fish. Caught a nice pike. And you know, that's what we did day one, and I'll show you all that here in a second. And then day 2, we were in a different spot. I had a guy that found this flat. It was, I don't even know how to describe what it was, but it was this real long rocky flat, lots of rocks. And he caught all his fish crankbaiting, you know, cranking over these rocks. And I got in there, and I actually had a fish come off on a crankbait, and I ended up snagging and losing that crankbait. And the way my luck always is, couldn't find it in my bag. My wife and I were just laughing because I found it in the floor of my truck today. So I'll show you guys that here in a second, but I was fishing this crankbait, pulled one off, and then I pulled out the Ned rig, my bigger setup, and it broke off. These rocks are all over, real sharp. And I was able to bounce it out, quite a few of them, and I eventually got snagged and lost it. So I picked up my finesse one, and I caught 2 quick fish on back-to-back casts. And then about 2 casts later, well, the next cast, I broke off. And here's kind of my regret, like hindsight, I wish I would have changed. When I went to the river back in the Ohio during the regular season, I lost 9 Ned rigs in one day. But I finished 7th. I caught a great bag, I had great fish, great bites, had lots of bites even on the river, even though only 3 of them were keepers. Same thing day 1. I didn't go through as many Neds because we weren't fishing rocks. I went through 2 or 3 probably. But I caught fish and caught 20 fish. And I caught those 2 fish back to back. And I don't know what it was. I started fishing scared though. I was just so concerned about how many Neds I was losing. And if I could go back and change it, I knew that's what was catching fish. It was catching fish in that spot. Obviously, I caught 2 back to back. I caught a nice keeper. It was a 2-pound keeper. And even the one that was short, it was just short by like ½ an inch. He was probably another 2 pounds. And instead of just sticking with what I knew worked, the water temperature dropped 8 degrees in a week. That was something else that really played into this that second day. I just started fishing scared, and I don't know why I did. I'd been super aggressive day 1, and I just don't know what happened. But you know, I think that's one thing I've learned this year. My wife and I have talked, and guys I've talked to, like Blue Line, these other guys, you know, fish the way you want and fish what the fish are biting. And I should have fished with that Ned rig regardless of how many I broke off. So, you know, I definitely know if we go back to have a longer leader, have 2 rods rigged up for that because I was running out of leader too. That's another reason why I almost tried to hold off to like the last few hours, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have just fished hard doing that. So, you know, I'm going to go through some of the gear I was using. Like I said, this is this jerk bait that I was throwing early on. It's the sexy shag color, I'm pretty sure. I threw this a lot, even in the rocky points. Like I said, a few bites, no fish. But I just feel like this was a bait that if I would have committed to it more, probably would have had a couple bites on. I talked about that crankbait. This is it right here. It's a Strike King KVD, the 2.5, and this is neon bluegill. This isn't the exact color, but very similar to what I caught the fish on. So this would have been big had I had this in that spot. Like I said, probably should have been throwing a Ned rig anyways, but that's the crankbait I really had confidence in. And the line I used for both those baits was P-Line Fluoro Clear, 15 pound. I normally use 15 pound for everything. This was my first year using the Fluoro Clear, and I love it for crankbaits and jerkbaits and stuff like that. So all this stuff will be linked down below in the description. But guys, check out Fluoro Clear. I love it. It's super strong, all P-Line super strong, but this is what I was using for my crankbaits and my jerkbaits. Now what we were using to catch most of our fish. Here are the two heads. Z-Man, I love Z-Man stuff. You guys see me fish with the chatterbaits and everything else. This is the Z-Man mag shrooms, and then this is their finesse shrooms. I use both of these primarily the most. I actually throw this bigger one. This is 1/4 ounce. I actually throw this on a bait caster. This is all on spinning combos. So these two, and then I also threw the weedless kind at times too. It just has a wire, keeps the weeds off of it. Same thing though, 1/4 ounce, the mag shrooms. So guys, if you have not fished with the Ned rig or you are not a big finesse fisherman, I would definitely encourage you guys to use this. Super versatile. You can use it anywhere, different styles, and it just catches, plain flat out catches fish. So these were my weapons, my main weapons. Like I said, I wish I would have stuck with them day 2, but you know, you live and you learn. And then the baits we were using, real simple on the back of them. The finesse TRD and then the big TRD, both in green pumpkin, both from Z-Man. I caught less fish on this because I downsized very quickly on day 1 and on day 2. This is if I threw a Ned rig, I really only threw this. I didn't really catch bigger fish on this. This is the one I used at the Ohio River to get such a good finish. But guys, these two baits, you can ask my wife. I'm obsessed with this bait. It's phenomenal. It's great. I think the thing the Ned rig does so great, the way I fish it, just kind of bounces it like a jig. Looks like a feeding minnow. But just this was it, guys. Real simple, just in green pumpkin, both of them. As you can see, there's a different, and they have a giant TRD. I didn't use it. I don't have any. I haven't needed to use them yet. But this bait was the money. And I honestly think if I would have kept up with this, I could have probably at least caught 3 keepers and been knocking on the door of a check. What I used for these two setups, for the 1/4 ounce head on the bait caster, I used P-Line CXX and 15 pounds. You guys have seen me use this since the channel began. This is normally my flipping stuff. I was actually throwing that head on a flipping reel so I could flip around those docks and stuff. So the CXX. And then for my spinning combo, I was using P-Line X-Braid, 20 pound, and then with my leader, it was 8 pound P-Line, the CX. So this was my line setups. Guys, once again, P-Line, check them out. Super durable line, super tough, held up great. Even against those rocks, it took quite a bit for me to be able to break it off or pop it out or whatever it may be. I love their braid. I had never used their braid until this tournament. I hadn't needed to use braid. Absolutely love their braid. It's phenomenal, holds up great once again. Definitely going to be getting some braid next year for my flipping sticks. And then just to kind of close it out real quick, we're going to talk about rods. The rods I used. I don't have with me the rod I used for the 1/4 ounce Ned rig, but that's okay. These two rods were what I was using for my Ned rig for the finesse one. So this is a 611 Enigma Phenom series, the Gen 2, the titanium series. Like I said, this is the 611 medium fast action. I love this rod. This is just a replacement reel. I had some issues with the reel that was on this originally, so I had to pull one of my old ones out. I'll show you the reel that I prefer on this setup. It's on my other one. But this just does a great job with the Ned rig. I love it. It's got really good sensitivity. Holds up very well. You guys saw in my video that pike I caught. And it just, like I said, it's perfect for when you're reeling into those fish. It's not too stiff. And it puts enough in, it puts enough bite into it. So that is the rod that I use. And like I said, I'll show you this other one. This is a duplicate rod. It's the same rod, but it just has the Ippen, the spinning reel on it. So I'll link this all below. This is the Enigma Ippen spinning reel. It's the IP30. I couldn't remember which one it was. The IP30. It's got 8+1 ball bearings in it. A 5.6 to 1 gear ratio. Super great reel. I love this reel. Once again, just perfect for this kind of finesse fishing. You can throw it a long way. Like I said, I had some issues with it, so I wasn't able to use it. But This was key. This rod was beautiful. It worked great. And then, like I said, the crankbait did come in to play a little bit. And this is actually the one that I completely bombed there near the end of the day. I actually had to end up just cutting off a crankbait and pulling it in by hand. But this is one of the rods that I never bought cranking series rods before until I joined Enigma and until this year. And I'm absolutely in love with really specializing the rods you use. This is their Atomic 29, their cranking series rod. I use this rod for everything that I crank. Spinner baits, chatter baits, crankbaits, swim baits. This rod is durable. It's got the perfect tip for cranking. It's real soft. You don't pull a lot of fish off. And honestly, the fish that got off was probably my fault. This is a 7-foot medium heavy. I use this for crankbaits and chatterbaits. This is what I caught a lot of my big fish on early in the year on a chatterbait on. And then this reel is the ECAST 150, the EC 150. I'll link it below too. It's the 6.6 to 1 gear ratio. And this is why I put that crankbait on this reel with the fish and the weather changing and the water getting so cold so quick. I just wanted a little slower reel so I could really target those fish kind of where they are. But guys, if you've never tried a cranking rod, or you're looking for a different company to use, or you're just interested in trying different rods, I definitely recommend Enigma. I've fallen in love with all their products. I don't have it with me, but they make a great flipping reel. The Itbin flipping reel, I absolutely love that reel. It's my favorite reel I've ever had. I do a lot of flipping grass here in these local farm ponds I fish a lot of the year. It's behind me, but this right here, this rod, I am absolutely a believer in this. You can ask my wife, she's behind the camera. When I bought my first one, I used it. I bought 3 more since then. I absolutely love this rod. I always take one of these with me. I've always got a chatterbait or a spinnerbait tied on, whether I throw it or not. But this is a rod I have utmost confidence in. These reels I have utmost confidence in. I mean, I put this reel through a lot this tournament season, just constant casts, and chatterbait was real big this spring, so this reel's definitely gotten to work out, and it's held up beautifully. But guys, that's just kind of what we did. Like I said, check out all the stuff in the description. These companies help me do what I do. They help me go from place to place, and they help me get the results I get. If you want to get good results, I've started telling people, I was never a believer in this, but I definitely am now. If you the amount of money you put into your equipment you'll get better results. You can scrape by getting some lower end stuff, and you'll probably have some success. But if you want to have high success and you want to cut down on birds' nests, or you want to hook more fish, definitely look at investing in your equipment, not just rods and reels like this, but also with your baits. It's something that I've learned in my few years of trying to start tournament fishing and just running a YouTube channel. You don't run around and try products trying to get sponsored or to try to get highlighted. This year I told my wife, even before COVID, my goal was I was going to use the baits I was confident in, I was going to use the companies I was confident in, and because those are the baits that I know I was going to have the most success with. And that's what I've done. I mean, you can ask her, I've really done better about not just buying random stuff. So guys, like I said, check all this stuff below. Thanks for all the support. I hope you guys have enjoyed this season. We're going to come back next year. We'll have another video on this here soon, but 2 divisions, the Alina and the Ozark next year. But guys, that's all we got time for today. Like I said, check these companies out. Christmas is coming up. Buy it for your special angler. Thanks guys, and we'll see you on the next episode of Double F Outdoors.